go. All right, welcome everybody to the fourth quarter CM 107 meeting. Today we're going to focus on the course revision that you've all been waiting to hear about, and hopefully we'll show you all about this exciting new version of the course. If everybody's able to see right now the home screen, I'm going to take you into the course actually, and we're just going to start there. So let me pop the class open, and can everybody confirm you can see it?
Yes.
Haha, excellent. Okay, so first thing first, we just want to look at it for just a second because we've been working on this for a while, and it's going to be going live in just a matter of days in 2003B. This has been a collective effort, and everybody on in the meeting today has been part of that. Your feedback over the last year over how things have been going with Hawks, your participation in all the surveys that we sent out to you, all the research pipeline studies that have been going on have led us to this revision of the course that I think is going to work really well. We're already seeing improvements in the course anyway over the last year, but we think that we've worked on this from a very specific problem solution focus, looking at what the data are showing are the weak spots in the course, where students are more than likely to struggle with assignments or when they're more likely to drop out. So we took the data and we started working on the revision. We didn't change everything in the course, and we didn't get all of our wish list items, nor did everybody get all their wish list items. We can't possibly make that happen. We, in fact, tried to just focus on the bigger issues and the ones that we knew we needed to work on. But it's a big change, and one of the things that you'll notice is that it looks very different. I'm assuming you can see that because when you open up the home page, you see these tiles. Unit by unit. So the student clicks into the course, and like normal, you get your course home with your start page and your videos and your welcome information. We've got some really good time management material there, but look at how the course looks different once you actually click into it. If you click into Unit 1, for example, you see these pretty pictures as normal, but hold on one second. It's really slow for some reason. There you go. All right. Here, for example, is the Unit 1 overview. And so the students, like normal, get their information about the material itself that's about to be addressed in the unit, but it's a tab-based view. So students click very quickly and easily from the welcome to a student video to some references material. And then as they move into other material in the unit, for example, the Hawks material, they have a tab system where they move from a general introduction to the lab material in Hawks to the specific information about what's going to be going on in the Learn material in the lab, and then some quick links to some PG resources. This is a really nice new version of the course, and that the university is moving towards anyway, and that our curriculum team wanted us to use, and that we think is really nice and is visually appealing and is really easy for students to navigate. It cuts out some clicks, and I think makes it really nice for students to see all these resources together, and you can see how quickly and easily they can click into any material. So here, for example, they go into the discussion board. There's the click, and there it is. The instructions and material and how to access the sample and the rubric, for example, all there for them. And it continues to click very easily through the unit, through the seminar. The instructions for attending and the alternative are there for them. And it clicks very easily out of the unit into the journal and into the summary. So it may not look like it's that much different, but the visuals are there, far more appealing, easier to click into. And you'll see as you get into each of the units, students can obviously click very easily into one unit, see visually how much they've completed in the unit, so that they know what's left to be completed. So I think it gives them a very nice visual of the course, actually. So, Katie, I believe you're going to go on next into the themes that we're going to focus on, what the course themes are focusing on. So you want me to pull up the PowerPoint now?
Sure, that'd be great. Thank you.
All right, I'll try.
No worries. And while you're getting that ready, so yeah, I think as everyone's noticed, it's much more visually appealing, and these slight changes make it a little bit easier to navigate. Thematically, you're going to see a lot of similarities to our current version of CM 107 in that we're looking at reading, writing, and research skills. We still have the strong connection to writing as a practical skill that our students are going to need in their future careers. We're still looking at writing for problem solving and utilizing self-reflection throughout the course, knowing where to go to get help within their writing, also thinking about how writing begins with a question. And one of the changes that we made, not a major change, but I think one that's going to help our students, is really being a little more clear about writing genres and audience expectations among different genres, which we definitely touched upon and got into, but I think sometimes our students didn't really understand it the way we intended, so we added a little more information on that to bring that to light. Yeah, I think it's going to be a nice change to create just a more consistent feel throughout the course as we move through those themes. So, let's see. Thanks, Joseph.
Is it showing now, please?
Yes, that's
okay.
Perfect. Just right.
Okay, there we go.
So again, you'll see a lot of similarities, but we really worked on trying to get the details a little bit more specific to avoid student confusion on some of these aspects, so that we really carried out that importance of thinking about the genre and audience, no matter what type of writing situation they're facing. So the other major change that you'll see, Joseph, if you wouldn't mind advancing 2 slides or down one, will be so the Hawks material, which I think everyone's familiar with. We started out with Hawks as a research pipeline project. It was successful, and so we've now been using that throughout the terms, but the version we've been using is that research pipeline version. So now that we knew we were moving ahead and keeping with Hawks, we had a chance to play around with it a little bit more and integrate it a little bit more smoothly into the course the way we really wanted it to be. So Hawks has been really good about revising the content. So they really went through with that fine-tooth comb to remove any literature questions or points that weren't really connected to our course. We also wanted to make sure we removed any persuasive writing questions because we saw some of those popping up. We worked with them to write some content, and then their specialists added on to that to really expand the question bank. So I think this content's going to be definitely relevant and in alignment with our assignments and our students. But definitely, if you do come across any literature questions or persuasive writing questions that might have snuck in there, please let us know, and especially if you can screenshot them. Hawks is really good about correcting those as soon as we find them. Hopefully we've caught them all, and they should be good to go, but definitely let us know. The other major change, so Hawks will now be auto-graded, and it will be worth 15 points per unit. We know our students are spending quite a bit of time moving through those lessons. We think they're important. It's good information. So we did up that point value just to make it more enticing to students to really see the importance and value of utilizing that Hawks material. So we'll be utilizing our own PG content then to reinforce those objectives and fill in any gaps that may exist within Hawks content. And so the information that we pulled, our PG content, will be some pieces from the library or writing center. And we also pulled in Credo Infolit, which those of you who teach 220 are probably familiar with, but it hasn't been a part of CM 107 until now. So we've added that to really strengthen the student experience. And I think you're going to like it. I think it's going to really help our students. And if you just saw that email that came out from Mike earlier today, it looks like Hawks is showing some definite positives for our students, and will continue to do so, especially now that we've had a chance to really streamline that content. So I'll go ahead and hand it back to Joseph to share some of the changes to the discussion board.
And, one of the things that you were mentioning is that Credo InfoLit material. We work with Stephanie to try to link 220 to 107 a little bit more closely. And one of the things that, if you do teach 220, she says really has helped her students is that material from the library and the Credo InfoLit material. So we're really hoping that, especially for students who've struggled with things like APA and research, that material is really going to help them. Let's get into some of the details, though, about the specific changes that you'll see that you'll see right off the bat in the discussion board, because we have really worked to, I think, strengthen the discussion board. This, unlike the Hawks material, the point value is still going to be the same. We're still looking at 40 points in each unit except for Unit 10, which is still 20. But we went through unit by unit to look at exactly what's working and what's not working. And one of the things that we saw from your feedback is that, for example, Unit 1 seemed to be covering too much material. So we trimmed it down, and instead of having students look at an article and go to the Writing Center, we just focused Unit 1 more specifically on their goals for the course and reflecting on their strengths and weaknesses. And you're going to see how this becomes a major theme for the course, because they're going to do a lot more self-reflection throughout the course, not only in their assignments and the discussion board, but also in the journals. And that is going to start with Unit 1, including their personal writing assessment all the way through the end, with the personal writing assessment at the end as well, and with a vision board that they create at the end of Unit 10. So self-reflection starts at the beginning. The instructions are we hope, a little bit less dense, a little bit less complex, and makes it clear what students are actually asked to be doing. If you look through each of the units, it may look like they're very similar to what's currently in the course. But Unit 2, for example, we did change the assignment, and the discussion board better supports that assignment, we think. It also introduces students to one of the major themes of the course, which is that writing is a series of questions that a writer asks, and that is the writer is answering for the audience. And you'll see that working throughout the resources that are in the discussion board and the resources for the assignments, and getting students to use that as a tool for brainstorming, gathering information, and writing to and for their audience. We also changed the Unit 3 discussion board to make it a more focused topic proposal for Unit 4. It actually asked students to more specifically propose topics and topic possibilities. I think we've always wanted students to do that in Unit 3, but it's more specific now. The real changes start coming in also in Unit 4, where we asked students to use the new peer review tool. There was a nice chart that students will be using in Unit 4, 8, and 9 to peer review, so that we hopefully get stronger peer reviews from our students. We'll look at that in just a second. You'll also see that Unit 5 is changed completely. Currently, it is a thesis and an outline. And what the data showed us is that when we're moving students into the academic essay assignment, they're a little bit shocked by the shift, and that by asking them to immediately come up with a topic and a thesis, a lot of them immediately start freezing and they stop writing. So we pulled it back just a little bit. And so Unit 5 is now a topic proposal, just like Unit 3, so that students are more softly moved into the process. They will propose ideas and get feedback from everybody before they move to Unit 5, which is where they actually choose that topic, create a preliminary thesis and an outline. And it may not seem like much of a difference there, but if you move that just back one step, students may be less likely to give up in the academic essay if they're not drafting until the Unit 6 assignment. So we hope that that change will really make a big difference. We also changed Unit 7 a bit. It still is an assignment for the students to go find one source. However, we're using a chart to help the students to paraphrase material better, to summarize material better, and to get ready for putting that material together into a stronger paragraph. You'll see that in just a moment. We got a little bit happy with charts and graphs, but we think it's going to work really well with our students and their needs, actually. Unit 8 is still a draft, but they're going to use a peer review tool. Same thing for Unit 9. It's still a draft, but it uses a peer review tool. Unit 10 is a little bit different because they're reflecting a little more specifically on their future goals, and they're creating a vision board for the future. And we hope that that will engage them a little bit better at the end of the course and get them better ready for 220. There will still be sample discussion board posts, and students hopefully will be engaged with that, and that will help them. Let me show you what we're talking about when we're saying we're using charts and graphs. So here, for example, is a chart that students will be using in the Unit 4 draft in the discussion board. We give them a chart there that asks them to use the chart to basically organize their information that they brainstorm. So we say, okay, in paragraph 1, try to do this thing and this thing and this thing. Introduce your topic, grab your audience, establish your main point. And if they can use those bullet points to fill in the information, they can use this organizer to actually create a more coherent paragraph. Same thing for paragraph 2. Ask them to actually use the bullet to identify the relevant personal information and experience with the problem that they're addressing in order to generate a more focused paragraph. And the same thing in paragraph 3. How do you motivate your audience? How do you draw it to a close so that we're guiding the students in the drafting process with a little bit more focus and a little bit more specific instructions for how to make the paragraphing happen, because we're seeing in the data that students struggle with drafts. So we want them to have good drafts, so maybe use this graphic organizer to see if that doesn't work. And you'll see them throughout the course. There's one in Unit 2, there's one in Unit 5 and 7, for example. So hopefully students will use this, and it will make the discussion board process a little bit easier for them, and hopefully we will motivate them all to post by Saturday. Here is another important change to the discussion board. You'll see we will use what's known as the help peer review chart, where students are guided for exactly what to do when they're peer reviewing. Right now, I think one of the reasons we have not the best peer reviews from our students is that, we give them general instructions on responding to their classmates, and we help them in the seminar by modeling that behavior. But this chart gives them specific targeted information to look for, to help the student's classmate to see what they did well, for example, to evaluate the main point specifically, to look over the information and the details that the writer has chosen to use and whether or not it works, and then to give the classmate a little bit of a plan for revising. So students can actually use this chart to go ahead and be more specific, know exactly what to address in the peer reviews, and then they can use that chart to post it back in the discussion board. And I think we'll see a little bit more fleshed out peer reviews as a result of this. If it doesn't work, let us know, but I think it's a really good tool that will hopefully solve one of the problems that we're seeing in the course, though. Now, I can't see the chat, so Katie, if you see anybody chatting or asking questions, you want to pipe in?
Yep, I've
been doing that.
Okay, all right. I can't even see that at all. So
Type it again. Sorry, it wasn't on purpose, but I've been responding.
I just can't see anything but my own screen right now, unfortunately, because if I pop back over into the screen, it's going to take me to take you instead of seeing the PowerPoint to something else. All right, so big changes there, right? Let's move to the next big change really quickly. I'm going to go through Unit 2 and 4 assignments, and then Katie's going to pick up with the Unit 6 assignment. So we did make changes on all of them. So let's start with Unit 2. So one of the first things that we noticed following the problem solution method was that Unit 2, despite our best intentions, was overwhelming to students. We want them to read something, we want them to apply their reading comprehension skills, but it was a little overwhelming. So the Unit 2 assignment is going to be a little bit different. Number one, the point value is much lower. We've lowered the point values out of necessity because we did up the point values with the Hawks material. But we also wanted to lower Unit 2 to make it even a little bit less threatening. It's now going to be a 2-paragraph assignment, and students are going to have more choices. It's going to also reinforce 2 of the themes of the course. The first is the genres, the blog post, the peer-reviewed journal, or a business report. So students can pick one of the 3. They don't have to pick a peer-reviewed article. They can go ahead and read something more informal. They can, if they want to, read a peer-reviewed article. They can, if they want to, read a business report. And what they're then going to do is, we hope, is by having everybody to make choices and then share those choices, they're going to be introduced to these genres and genre expectations earlier in the course itself. They're also going to then continue to apply their reading comprehension skills to let us know a little bit more about the article and what makes it effective. But the focus of this really is on analyzing how the student can use this writing, this effective piece of writing, as a model for themselves as writers. So what they're going to be doing is reflecting on exactly what this writer does well, that they would like to be doing as writers themselves, explaining what specific skills the writer is using or strategies that they themselves will be hopefully applying in their future writing in this course and any place whatsoever. They're also going to be getting some practice with research and citation early on. Everybody's asking for that. We want to lead them into it easily, though. So what they're going to do is go to the Writing Center, look at the definition of effective writing, and use that as a really brief beginning to this assignment, give it credit, and then cite it at the end of the paper in a brief reference that does not have to be in perfect APA format. We let them know early on that they can use an informal format for citing it as long as they cite it, and that they're not really going to be graded on how perfect APA is with their citations. They're just simply going to be going into it step by step, but instead of waiting until Unit 7 and 8 to get to it, we're starting in Unit 2. And we recognize from your feedback how important that was. So to get that in and to make sure students could get that practice, we trimmed the other requirements down so that we're still able to give them feedback, but so that it's not overwhelming. So we hope that this, I think it's actually a really engaging and interesting assignment, and that students will like it because they get choices, and they'll like it because they get to write about themselves as writers and to reflect on how they're going to improve. So it matches up with the themes that they established in Unit 1 and helps them to think more about themselves as writers. So, any questions about that assignment? Pipe up if you do. You got that. You got the mic if you want, and I can hear you if you do that. No questions? You're overwhelmed, right?
Joseph, I have a question.
Yes.
This is Jamie, and
Hey,
that
Jamie.
is, are the seminars going to reflect this? Do we have like whole new seminars to do and that kind of thing?
Yep. Not only that, Jamie, but
Excellent.
they get early material that supports everything. So, for example,
Yay.
they're going to get early material in Unit 2 on going and finding material in the library. They're going to get early material on why it's important to give credit to sources. They're going to get early material on how to cite, for example. Even though we're not going to be grading them on an APA citation there, they're still going to get material that they briefly can reflect on and think about why it's valuable to avoid plagiarism right here, right now. So it's all going to be there, and it's a little bit, I think it's a lot better matched up, Jamie. So hopefully you'll see the kind of problems that you've mentioned in the past, hopefully going away, or at least hopefully being less problematic. Things like not citing sources or plagiarism early on. Hopefully that will be something we're not seeing as much of.
That's so good, Joseph. I actually have been incorporating that this semester and the previous semester into my just chalking.
Good.
And it's made a great deal of difference. And I'm so glad that you've taken it over and made it very specific.
And what we couldn't do there, Jamie, was flip the units. So because of the way that they're set up with the outcomes, we couldn't change them. So we heard everybody's suggestions about that, but because we couldn't do that, we said, okay, let's see what we can do instead. And I think this is a good compromise, actually.
Yeah, good.
All right. Anybody else? If not, we'll move to Unit 4. It's still a blog post. Okay. So one of the things that we recognize is that we can't change everything. You can only work on a few changes in a course overall. Keep the things that work well. So the data show us that the blog assignment works well and that students are engaged in it. But what we did see is that the instructions gave students a little bit of a problem. So we have made some adjustments to the assignments and made it more specific as to what students are actually being asked to do. They're asked to deal with an issue that's personal to them and that is in some way still relevant to their field of study. But it's more of a problem solution because we're wanting students to think about the theme of problem solving throughout the course and seeing writing as a way to solve problems. For example, the Unit 2 assignment, it really does reinforce that idea because they're dealing with their own problems as writers and how modeling themselves after a writer could help them to solve problems. Unit 4 is doing the same thing. We're wanting them to see immediately that other people have problems too, and that if we, as writers, use our voice and our experience, and we share our knowledge, we can help others. But the assignment instructions very specifically want them to be more focused. I've seen students struggle with this because they want to do too much in this assignment. So it reinforces the idea that your main point needs to focus on one problem, one solution, and using your experience to help the audience see how that one recommendation will work well. So it's a little more focused. At the same time, it's using what we saw as a very helpful and effective assignment with some trimmed down instructions. We hope, though, that because we also give them the option of going and doing a little bit of Google searching for a topic and maybe using a source very briefly and citing it in Unit 4 if they want to, that they'll get some practice with using a source carefully and briefly and citing, which continues to help them with their research. It's not a requirement, but it's an option, but they are told that they can use it only briefly to establish the relevance of the problem. So they might, for example, say that 50% of teenagers are known to have problems with depression. Then the rest of it must be personal and it must move away from sources. So they get a brief opportunity, and hopefully it also reinforces the idea that this is about them and their experience in the audience and not research yet. But it also will give them a nice little connection and to the upcoming research paper itself. All right, any questions about the Unit 4 assignment? Nope. If not, Katie, you want to pick it up with Unit 6?
Sure, thanks. So Unit 6, you'll see similarities in that we're still going with the academic writing, drafting without sources, but the biggest change has been to the research plan. So we're going to continue with using those graphic organizers to help keep students perhaps a little more focused. Oh, thank you. There, it moved to full screen now. Keeping students a little more focused as they move into this. So the research plan, which might be a little hard to read, but it's that bottom chart below. So first, the assignment itself, they have a breakdown which explains step by step how to focus these paragraphs. Hopefully that's going to lead to stronger, more complete Unit 6 assignments, more focused Unit 6 assignments. And then that research plan chart, rather than just simply writing a paragraph where sometimes our students may not necessarily know what types of research they really do need, they need to break their paper down and look at what kind of information, what do I need to find for each paragraph, and fill that in this way. And I think that's going to really help them hit the ground running in Unit 7 a little bit more, because they'll, rather than saying I need statistics, they'll have had time to think about, okay, I need statistics about this specific issue or whatever the case might be. So our main change with that is to really make the research plan more beneficial to students, more helpful to use as they move into Units 7 and 8. Okay, so then next changes, going with Unit 8 is still pretty much the same. So we're still, asking students to look at what has caused the change or the effects of the change. Really what we focused on are clarifying some of the instructions, really reiterating to students that it's not what they want to see, hope to see, or would like to see in the future, that they're not writing a persuasive piece, that they're really staying focused on a specific topic. And then we also gave some more clear expectations when it comes to APA style. And the question came up earlier of when are we officially switching to APA 7th? And what we did actually in the whole course is just removed any reference to any edition and just put APA formatting so that we're ready to go whenever we are officially 100% 7th version versus 6th edition. So those are our biggest ones for Units 6 and 8. So not too many changes there. But looking at Unit 9, so we did take writing for professional writing, but we changed this one up a little bit and really tried to, again, connect to students the importance of these problem-solving skills. You'll see some similarities in our current version of Unit 9, but in this case, we've actually asked students to write or imagine that their supervisor has tasked them with identifying an issue in the organization and what could help improve it. So in the past, we've always said, direct it to a decision maker, and students had to come up with that on their own. And I know I personally had a lot of students who would maybe write kind of this overarching memo to all employees, and they didn't really focus on the audience and thinking about a decision maker. So in this case, we've given that audience and presented it in a little more clear terms. And we have really indicated to students that they really need to look at one problem, one solution, keeping it concise and keeping it on point as they move through that. So any questions about the assignments as we've moved through these?
And
Hi, Katie, this is Jamie. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, we also called it a preliminary proposal so that students could see that this is not the final report here, that this is just a proposal that you are going to be presenting, and hopefully it will be approved if you're persuasive. But if not, then it's not approved. So that maybe makes it a little clearer their purpose. I'm sorry, Jamie.
No, that helps specify. And also, thank you, Joseph and Katie. You said Unit 2 is worth 30 points. What are 4, 6, 8, and 9 worth, please?
Let me think, because we did change those point values, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I believe Unit 9 and Unit 6, are they worth the same amount right now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I want to say they're roughly 100, but 6 and 9 have the same point value.
Okay.
8 is still weighted higher than the other assignments.
Good. Okay. Thanks.
Let me go. I can go find out for you while.
That's okay. I'll find out. It's just that's one of the questions they ask at the outset always.
Yeah, we'll get that to you in just a second, actually. Okay. All right. Sorry.
Yeah, because that was one we realized our students do tend to do pretty well in Unit 9. That does seem to be an assignment they excel in, and we really wanted to make sure that they do get credit for that, because that's, professional writing's an essential skill to have. So, and Joseph's going to share a little about journals and seminars. I know some questions have been coming up about those seminar PowerPoints and that.
All right, so can everybody, I clicked a couple of times, so can everybody see journals?
Yep, you're in the right spot.
Okay, all right, so, we said that one of the themes of the course is self-reflection, and so what we've done is change the journal assignment. We've saw in the past a lot of students who just simply don't do the journals when they start getting to Unit 5 and 7, for example, where they're asked to reflect on what they're doing in the discussion board and what the feedback has been. So we want to make sure that students can still do something even if they're not proceeding with the course and getting their drafts in on time or their assignments on time. So what we've offered is options in the journal. So for example, if you look at the Unit 3 journal that's right here, it says complete one of the two following options. If you have completed your Unit 2 assignment, reflect on at least one writing, reading, or research skill you've improved on so far. Review the feedback you receive from your instructor and identify an area of improvement you need to continue to work on. So if students have completed that assignment, they can do this well. They've got the feedback from you. They can reflect on it, because we do want them to look at feedback. We know that a lot of students don't do that. So the assignment requires them to go to the gradebook and look at the feedback. If they don't, however, have that assignment submitted, here is their option. If you haven't completed your Unit 2 assignment yet, in your Unit 3 journal, instead identify your plan for submitting your Unit 2 assignment so you are caught up and improve your your CM 107 grade. What specific struggles are you facing with completing the assignment, and what assistance do you need from your instructor to make sure you succeed on your assignment? So if students are not completing the previous assignment and they can't reflect on it, at least they can interact with you in a more personal environment rather than, for example, just not posting to the discussion board in the next unit, or sending you a class question in the course itself. They can let you know in this private journal that this is the trouble that they're having and here's what I need from you. So this gives you an opportunity to do some outreach with students who are not caught up in the course. And hopefully, if this journal works, it will also give students who are struggling the opportunity to motivate themselves to say, here is where I am right now, but here's what I can do to get moving on. I know that this does take out some of the more fun assignments, like write a letter to a friend, that we know we're working, but we really wanted to focus on what we could do to get the students who are not staying on task back up to task. So hopefully this, in combination with the intelligent agent material, will really help the students to get motivated. Any questions about the journal? It's still 10 points, and it still focuses on self-reflection. If not, we'll move to seminar. And real quickly, we have new seminar rubrics for everybody, and we'll look at them in just a second. They focus more on activities and breakout room options. So hopefully, because there are going to be fewer issues for you to try to cover, and because some of them are workshop oriented, we hope this will engage students a little bit more. Now, when I said options, so if you're not comfortable with doing breakout rooms, you don't have to do them. And the same thing holds for anything that's in these seminar PowerPoints. They are suggestions, and sometimes they have more activities than you can possibly cover in an hour. So use the PowerPoint shells and personalize them. Read your students and what their needs are, and if they don't need help with a particular activity that is in the PowerPoint, don't use it. Take it out, read your students and their needs, and just use it as a general guideline, though. But you'll see that they're revised and that they're more activity driven. Maybe next time we'll go to a flipped classroom involvement, flipped classroom activity where we're asking students to do something before seminar, but we didn't think that we're quite ready to add that yet. So hopefully the seminar changes will support what's going on in the course a little bit better and be more targeted. But we'll show you where they are in just a second. All right, Katie, were you on rubrics or was that? Yeah, you were. So.
Yep. So rubrics, they look quite a bit different than what we've been using. Hopefully you like them. We tried to streamline them. Again, we couldn't get every wish list item. Unfortunately, they're still not clickable, but we are working towards that. So we're hoping to transition them to clickable rubrics. Which is why we went with kind of the layout and formatting that we did. So we've been told that these should carry over nicely when we do switch to clickable rubrics, and they're definitely more streamlined, which I think is beneficial. So like here's the discussion rubric. You'll see there's only 3 criteria on this one. So you have initial post, responses to classmates, and then writing style. And so you'll see those point values. And then over in the points earned category on the right, so you can indicate where they fell on that spectrum. If there exceeds all expectations, but they're not quite, the full 20 out of 20, but more like an 18, you have some discretion in how you want them to fall kind of in that continuum as you read through that criteria. Another change you'll see is when it comes to participation responses, we do have in the full point value area that it's responds to 3+ classmates. So you have that flexibility of how many more than 3, but I think that's something students usually ask for when we say, the more than 2 requirement. So I'll let you check out the language we tried to streamline as well too. I think these are gonna be a little bit easier to use, especially when we move to clickable criteria. So the next changes would be similar formatting for the assignments. Specifically, we have the example here of like the Unit 6 rubric. It's worth fewer points than it has been in the past, and we're grading it as a draft. That is what its purpose is, to serve as a draft for the Unit 8 assignment. So we wanted to be fair when we're evaluating that. And as we developed this rubric, that we really want to focus more on the content, the ideas, the thesis. Are they in alignment with the focus for the assignment, rather than penalizing for, the more specific grammar issues and things that we can continue to revise and work on as we're moving into the final Unit 8 assignment and the integration of research. So I think these are going to be easier for us to work with as instructors, easier for students to read through and really understand the expectations. So, and again, give us your feedback. Let us know, because this format's a little different than what we've been working with before. Tell us, we're hoping they work, but let us know if you're seeing something come up or confusion among your students. We definitely want to hear from you on that. So the other change that you'll see within the course will be the use of intelligent agents. So they are actually going to be programmed in the course, so less work for you in setting all of those up. So Hawks has automatic reminders that are set. So Joseph and I are both on a track, and I'm not sure if they're going out to all the tracks or not. I think they are, but
They are.
Right now Hawks is sending automatic reminders to our students, letting them know when assignments are coming up, letting them know when assignments are past due. So those are going to continue from Hawks, and then we have master intelligent agents that are going to be integrated within CM107. So if those of you who have been going in and setting up all of your own every single term, you can definitely still add your own that you like to have. But what you'll find is each unit is set with predetermined intelligent agents that we created, that a group of us created. The only thing you will need to do is during term setup, you'll have to go in, set them, and add your signature. It's not a huge problem or task to take on, and that the information's already there. Essentially, you'll just be setting the schedule, since obviously, the dates for unit 1 vary across term. We don't have a way to automatically set those, so you'll just adjust that and include your name. And we're actually going to you'll have a video that goes over how to set this up and instructions to do that, so you won't be kind of flying solo if you're not too familiar with how to set up those intelligent agents. So yes, all of these are going to be ready to go for the B start coming up. So yep, these are all going to be present. Yeah, so hopefully you'll like these. Hopefully they keep students engaged. And I know setting up intelligent agents in itself can be time consuming, so having these preloaded is hopefully going to be really, really great. So Joseph, you want to take APA?
Yeah, sure. So real quickly, I think we've talked about this though, but your students are going to see APA throughout the course. As I said earlier, they will be introduced to APA basics in Unit 2, including citations and plagiarism concerns right off the bat. They will get library and Credo InfoLit material on that early on. The CTL plagiarism tutorial is included early on as well to let students know what this issue is, and here are resources for you. But the thing that we're going to focus on, not only throughout the course, but also in the rubrics, is the term APA style. So you'll see in the rubrics that students are not just asked to cite sources, but also to use language appropriate to audience and purpose and situation. So all of those things like grammar, language, genre, format, and citations are blended all into one rubric category, APA style. And you'll also see that it is a little bit more aligned with its value point system. So about 10% of any assignment is going to be APA style. So that if students, for example, are not following APA at all, they're not going to be qualifying for an A grade on an assignment. They can still do well in an assignment, but it's a requirement, and that's part of the APA style requirement for any of the assignments. So right off the bat, they know that it's important, that it counts towards their grade, and that they need to learn, the basics of it. And they will be learning this step by step. So we're not throwing them in and expecting them to master APA in Unit 2. They're, asked to cite the Writing Center link real quickly and easily with just a hyperlink. They're not asked to do it in APA format yet, but they're learning APA style as they go along. And as Katie just mentioned, we are going to obviously follow through with a plan for transition to 7th edition by January. But as you're going through the course in the next couple of terms, as we're transitioning to APA 7th, be a little bit flexible if students are using 6th edition as opposed to 7th edition yet, but start talking to them about the transition to 7th edition, but just be willing to, if they make mistakes with the transition, to not, penalize them tremendously, because they are transitioning to that system as well. All right, before we close out to questions, though, I'm going to stop sharing this PowerPoint, and I'm going to show you one thing. Let me make sure it's closing out. This is, everybody, the CM107 resource Google site. Can everybody see it?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Well, it's not sharing. All right. Let me see what I can do to make sure.
Well, you're loading that. So the question to come up, and this is the site that we're going to use to house the PowerPoints, and Joseph will show you that in a minute, that all that material, those resources are ready to go for those of you teaching on the upcoming B track. So we'll have everything linked there.
All right. Tell me when it shows up.
There you go. Yep. You're on now.
Okay. So it's going to be a new house for our resources, everybody. We'll send you out the link here, and it will probably be prettier when we're finished with it. But just like any web page, you've got links up here at the top We'll put the video for the revision here so that everybody can have the recording. And then there's a brief overview of the changes that you can see. You'll also see there's a tab for announcements. And by announcements, we mean we're not going to be using s'mores anymore. We're going to the university mandated very brief announcements. So you're going to see right here, if you download from the website, and we'll email this to you anyway, there's just a brief list of announcements here that are only, about 4 sentences and some bullets that announce the unit and that you can personalize, but we want to keep them brief so that they are fitting into a screen and so that students who are using tablets and phones can use them and not be, I guess, overwhelmed by those beautiful images that we like in the s'more, right? But it is what it is. So up at the top, though, you can see there are other tabs, including your PowerPoint, your seminar PowerPoints. They're here and available for download on the site. You'll also see that the rubrics are here for download, although they are also in the course, and that things like what's due when, the 2003 B term, available for download easily through the site, and that there will be some material on Hawks as well. It's not created, I don't think, but yeah, there it is. But we'll just have, there's some information on the point system and why, for example, but we'll have a nice little clean new 107 resource page. All right, I'm going to stop sharing now, and let's see if I can stop sharing, and then open up to questions, and the mic is yours, everybody.